AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. Deposed Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro is set to make his first court appearance in New York on drug trafficking charges, along with his wife, Celia Flores. AP correspondent Haya Benjwani has more.
Maduro and his wife are expected to appear at noon Monday before a judge in New York. He's accused of narco-terrorism and drug trafficking. The Trump administration used the criminal charges to justify capturing Maduro and removing him to U.S. soil. Maduro's lawyers are expected to contest the legality of his arrest, arguing that he's immune from prosecution as a sovereign head of state. Venezuela's new interim president, Delcy Rodriguez, has demanded that the U.S. return Maduro, who has long denied any involvement in drug trafficking. I'm Haya Benjwani.
President Trump was asked yesterday by a reporter on Air Force One what the U.S. needs from Venezuela's now interim president, Delcy Rodriguez.
Total access. We need total access. We need access to the oil and to other things in their country that allow us to rebuild their country.
What other things?
A lot of things. Roads that aren't built, bridges that are falling down. Yeah, bridges that are falling down, nobody can go anywhere.
Meanwhile, oil prices fell back today, while the prices of precious metals surged as markets reacted calmly to Maduro's capture. Asian shares rallied on heavy buying of tech-related stocks after modest gains Friday on Wall Street. Republican Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene will be stepping down from her role in Congress today. The loyal supporter turned critic of Trump made the announcement in November. Star Black, a Republican who was running to replace Greene, was already planning a primary challenge before she announced her resignation. More information at apnews.com. This is AP News. AP correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports on a cyberbullying case in Paris involving France's First Lady, as the court announces sentences.
A Paris court has found 10 people guilty of cyberbullying France's First Lady Brigitte Macron by spreading false online claims about her gender and sexuality, including allegations she was born a man. The court convicted all defendants to sentences ranging from a cyberbullying awareness training to 8 months suspended prison sentences. The defendants are accused of having posted numerous malicious comments and linking the couple's 24-year age gap to pedophilia. Some of the posts were viewed tens of thousands of times. Brigitte Macron did not attend the 2-day trial in October. Speaking on TFI national television on Sunday, she said she'd launched legal proceedings to set an example in the fight against.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Caro. For today, we'll see gradually increasing cloud cover with high temperatures reaching up into the lower 40s. Then for tonight, mostly cloudy with areas of patchy fog, lows to 35. For Tuesday, some areas of drizzle and fog in the morning, otherwise mostly cloudy with highs up to 44 degrees, and then sunshine making a return for Wednesday into the upper 40s. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Right now, 34 degrees.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Monday morning, progressives, and welcome to the January 5th, 2026 edition of Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Find my show on Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, and YouTube. Email me at richard@wcpt820.com. You can also follow me on X, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Blue Sky, Threads, Substack, and Spoutable. Catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. There you can get Choose Views, featured interviews, Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive, Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, It's the Democracy Stupid with Edwin Eisendrath, Out Chicago, and our other great shows and interviews. And you make your way over to our Heartland Signal digital newsroom, digital platform by going to our website, heartlandsignal.com. On today's show, we will have our good friend Mike Nellis, political strategist, will be hanging with us in the 7 o'clock hour. And candidate for Congress right here from the great state of Illinois, Kat Abughazaleh, will be with us in the 7:30 hour to chat about what's happening in her world. Looking forward to talking to both Mike and to Kat today. We will have them on in the 7:30 time frame. There's so many places I could dive in and start. You should see my list of news items, which we will probably get to in the 6:30 to 7 hour. And certainly when we come back from this first break our first break today. But I want to welcome everybody back to the show. We were on Friday, did a show remotely, and my man Henry helped us make it down the path, got it done. But I want to just say Happy New Year to everybody. I know that Friday's show was our first show of the new year, but this is our first full week back. So I'll be taking your calls today as much as we can between now and 7 o'clock. So make sure you give us a holler. Talk about what happened over your New Year's celebration, what's happened over the last week, anything that's going on, anything that's on your mind. Obviously, send us a text at 773-763-9278. But definitely give us a call as well. I'm going to start off with some shout-outs to people. Shout out to my family, both sides, the family side and the in-law family side. Thanks for a great 2025 as we go into 2026. Neighbors and friends and all the rest. Shout outs to all you guys and to you listeners that send us text messages, that send me emails, and that certainly give us a call. And to the folks here at WCPT, all of our engineers and our staff, as well as our management. And, thanks to everybody for all that you did last year, and thanks to everything you've done so far to get us into 2026. My man Devin is sitting right here with me. As always, he gets us out of the gate on Monday. So shout out to you, Devin. Thanks always for making sure that we're running in the right direction. These guys are magical. So, as always, when you get a chance and you call in, give them their love. And when you send me a text, I always try to share it with them. And we've got our intern Whitney hanging with us too. So shout out to Whitney. I do that because we have to appreciate the folks that are around us. It's important that we do that. It's important that we make sure that we show them the love. We're in a tough time right now. I'm going to get into what's the latest news. I know that Mike and I will talk about it. I know that Kat and I will talk about it. And when we come back from the first break, I'll be getting into some of the information that I think is important to you guys, and some of the things that are maybe not being talked about when it comes to the most recent news that took place over the weekend. But I'm going to be fighting real hard this year for all of us. I know that we'll talk about things that we've talked about before. I know that we'll talk about new things and, of course, things that are topics of the day and of the week. We are now in 2026, and the fight has been on, but it's gotten real because of where we are headed with the midterm elections and all the special elections and others along the way. So we have to remain plugged in, and we have to remember that if we show up like we've shown up in the last 30, 60 days or so, we can get some things done. And so I'm going to be pushing that conversation. And this year we're going to still be blessed to have great guests on the show and great conversations about the things that are important to us. I'm going to be encouraging everybody to get in the fight, stay in the fight, recoup, rest, get stronger, come back for more. Because if you, as I said on Friday, if you believe in this thing, if you truly do, then you realize what's at risk and what the opportunity is to go forward rather than to go backwards. So I'm going to be pushing us all in that direction this year. And I want to remind everybody of the power that you have, and that those who are opposing us or those who are causing this havoc, and those that might be right in your own family that just are not believers, they're more interested in being contentious and not moving us forward, not progressing. We've got to stand up and show them the spine that we have to fight and to push them back rather than being pushed back by them. So I just wanted to make that clear, that's going to be the modus operandi in 2026. It's the constant fight that we're in, because I don't think we have any choices. But we also have to remember that, you know, as we're going to see in this clip that we're going to get you guys started, this is going to be part of my mantra for 2026. I will probably play this, you know, and we might play this once a week. But we're going to remember the words of this next great gentleman. So check this out, progressives.
We are mentoring young people. We always tell them, do not let people think you do not belong. Because I promise you, once you sit at these tables, at these fancy places, with folks with fancy titles, and they got a big bank account, and you talk to them, and you go, oh, yeah, they ain't all that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, sir.
This idea that somehow they are so special, they're so smart, they're so sophisticated, not really. They've been exposed. They've been given the confidence of feeling like they belong. But if you sit down and talk to them, turns out they're just folk.
Yep, normal people.
Normal people.
What you always say about if you can speak English? We can talk to anybody that speaks English. Like, I don't care where you at, what money you have, what you own, what this, what that. If you speak English, I can sit down and talk with you.
That's my point.
Of course, that was former President Barack Obama. Barack Obama speaking on the pivot. So why is that going to be part of my mantra in 2026? Because that's what I believe too. They ain't all that. We've been kind of sleepwalked into thinking that the people that are on the right, I'm going to be very specific, the people that are on the right got it going on. They're the ones, and they've taken over so many different things, so they must be better. And I've used this phrase many times. They think they're supposedly the biggest, strongest, fastest, bestest in the room, and they're not. They may have been exposed to the stuff that leads them to think that they are. But we have to remind them, guys, that they are not. And this year, the gloves are off for me in many ways. I'm going to be punching like I was raised to punch. Republicans say something, do something stupid on any level, from the presidency on down to local offices, I'm going to punch them. I'm going to get after them. And I'm going to do that because I can't speak to it if I don't do it. And I think I do it anyhow, but I'm going to do it even more this year. I doubt that I'll slip into any profanity-laced rages, because Devin and Henry and Mike and all the rest will block me from that, and they'll give me the look. Because Devin's got a real unique sense of knowing when I'm about to cuss. He does. But guys, I'm punching this year. My gloves are off. I got on gloves to protect my hands, but they're not boxing gloves. Because I am not going, if we're going down, quote unquote, I'm not going down without a fight. And it's going to be one hell of a fight. And, guests that I have on, if they, typically our guests tend to be, bless you, on our side for the most part with where we stand. But even our guests that we have on, if they're not lining up with where I think we got to go and how we have to do it, there's going to be some interesting conversations. And I say that because I know what so many people are wanting, because I've heard so many people say it over the last, going on 2 years. In February, the show will have been airing for 2 years. And we want people to fight, not against ourselves, but against those who are creating the chaos and the opposition. And we've said it a number of times, but it's real now. I had exchange text messages with my good friend Dana Goldberg, comedian Dana Goldberg, Progressive Voice. And, I to the extent that I can share what we said, one of the things that she did, she responded back with the letters FLG. I think you guys can figure out what that stands for. Let's blankety blank go. So this year, guys, if you believe in this thing that we call democracy and a progressive country that's going to move forward, it's going to take people willing to get dirty and get bloody, because this year is not going to be it's not going to be the year to kind of sit back and see what happens. And I don't care which community you come from. We all, if we believe in this, all have to step up and say we have to fight back against what's happening. That's the charge. That's the challenge. I'm ready for it. And so I hope that you guys are, because you got to remember what President Obama said. They ain't all that. So let's take a quick break, guys. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
WCPT replay.
Jamie Harrison is a treasure.
I hope the American people stand up and speak out in a way that we've never seen before. So that they send a strong message to folks, and particularly, I don't really give a damn the message that it goes to Donald Trump. I want the message to be sent to the feckless Republicans that you see in Congress, the ones who talk a great game, but in the end of the day, who have been as pliable as a string in the wind. I mean, these folks are just, Mike Johnson's, the Thunes of the world.
Yeah, you want to send them a message. I want them beaten.
Yes.
I want them out.
Well, that's the message that I want. I want to wipe them out of the Congress.
Keep listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Good morning. You're waking up with Richard Chu.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
We're live and ready to hear from you. Text or call us now at 773-763-9278. Same number. Simple as that. Let's get the conversation going on Choose Views.
All right, guys, welcome back. January 5th, 2026. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited about 2026. Hammer's down, but I'm excited as hell about this year. I really am. On a personal level, on a professional level, all the above. Socially, I'm excited. I'm excited about the fight and taking things back. But let's get to a couple of Choose Views news items on this January 5th, 2026. Bosses have found a new way to boost RTO. All right, work from home. We had RTO. Now we got the hybrid creep. Company's new effort to get workers back in the office without ordering it outright. That means tactics like basing promotions on office attendance or increasing surveillance of employees. Another factor getting bodies back in the seats, increasing layoffs, which are making plenty of people afraid of losing their jobs. The combination of factors seems to be working. Office attendance rates are rising steadily, even as many firms take a step back from mandates. Air travel sees a, quote, class divide as carriers chase profits. An emerging class divide in air travel looks to set a widened 2026, according to CNBC reports. U.S. carriers' profits are increasingly driven by premium passengers who pay extra for better seats, lounges, and other perks. Even budget airlines are targeting more affluent travelers. Meanwhile, carriers are cutting benefits for flyers in economy classes. The industry's challenges in the new year include air traffic control, staffing shortages, and outdated equipment. Returning holiday gifts is a booming gig economy job. What does that mean? Holiday returns have become a booming business for gig workers and companies that connect them with busy consumers, according to the Wall Street Journal. Bookings on TaskRabbit related to retail returns are up 62% for November and December and going into 2026. Return Queen is anticipating a double-digit spike in business to start this year. For customers, outsourcing saves time and reduces stress. About 17% of holiday buys are returned, according to the National Retail Federation. The hottest gadgets for this year, a phone with a keyboard. Clicks Technology, maker of smartphone keyboards, is debuting a coveted new device at the upcoming Consumer Electronics Show, which is taking place right now in Las Vegas. A BlackBerry-style phone with no social media apps or games. It's designed to be a secondary, work-focused device for messaging and productivity apps like Gmail and Slack, available via Android-based Niagara launcher. And last but not least, commercial real estate outlook is upbeat for 2026. Commercial real estate lenders are heading into 2026 with a bit of optimism, according to CNBC. A Deloitte survey of 850 global executives found that 83% expect revenue gains by the end of 2026, down from 86% last year. Lower interest rates are gradually unlocking investment capital, but tariffs and immigration restrictions have elevated construction costs. The office sector appears to have hit a low point, while data center demand has intensified. Retail is the middle of the major shift toward smarter footprints in walkable locations in major cities. So there you go, guys. A couple of Choose Views news items on this Monday, January 5th, 2026. So if you're going to be traveling and going places in the next months to come, get ahead of the curve a little bit, okay? Make sure you get ahead of the curve. Don't wait till the last minute as best you can. Plan ahead. Because traveling can be a little interesting this year because of the way in which the new real IDs are being are playing out. Real IDs and or passports for travel. Got a clip of some information over the weekend, and I just thought I'd mention it to you guys. Make sure that if you are traveling, that you've got all your stuff in order well in advance when it comes to your identification and where you're going. Because from what I read, that there's going to be even more challenges for people that don't have a real ID. In some cases, paying $45 to $60 additional. I'll keep you posted on what I find in that space. But I'll just say to everybody, if you're traveling by car, by almost said by boat, but yeah, if you're traveling by any means, any way of travel, just make sure you got your ID up to snuff. Take a look at your driver's license. See if you have to get a real ID, try to get that done. I know there's a cost involved and there's some time involved, but I just don't want to see anybody stuck in a situation where they're trying to get to visit some family, or whether it be in an emergency situation or a planned event or travel. Get ahead of the curve a little bit so you don't have that problem. Just don't want to see you guys stuck or stranded at an airport because you can't go anywhere. All right, guys. For the next, 30 plus minutes, we'll talk about some of the latest things that are happening, and obviously the elephant in the room this particular weekend with regard to Venezuela. I know that a lot of news reports have had a chance to, really lean in over the past 24 to 48 hours. I'm going to talk about it from some very practical standpoints, not as an international affairs expert, but someone that just looks at things from, I believe, a very pragmatic and common sense standpoint. So our country decided, not our country, this administration and Trump regime decided that they were going to go in and grab a leader of another country, irrespective of if he were duly elected or if the elections were tampered with or whatever. Our administration currently decided that they were going to go in and grab Maduro for what, people have been spinning around in circles trying to rationalize on the right. And some people in the middle have tried to say, well, he was this, he was that, he did this, he did that. And so that may all be true. He may be a horrible, horrible person and has treated the people in this country in a horrible, horrible way. And if that's true, and if the drug trafficking data is true, then he needs to pay a penalty for that. No different than anybody else. If he's treating his people, all the things that the Trump administration is using as their rationale and their laundry list of reasons why they went and got Maduro, all those reasons, if those are true, then if that's the standard, Eric Grant uses this phrase a lot, and I do too occasionally. What are the rules? I'm going to put this in this context. This is how I kind of wrote up my notes in briefing. I'm going to put this in this context. What are the rules? If it's okay, and we've got a clip that we'll play when we come back from this break. If it's okay for us to go and snatch a leader for the things that we laundry list are the reasons why we did it, The word I'm going to use right now, the phrase I'm going to use right now is slippery slope. Because I don't think we're going to stop here. I think we're going to rationalize. When I say we, I'm saying this in the context of as a country, but I think this administration is going to rationalize doing this again to others. And I'm going to tell you where they're going to start. They're going to start with the person that was put in as the new leader of Venezuela. They don't like the fact that she is the leader now. And I think, Devin, that it won't surprise me a bit if they go in and try to get her. So the slippery slope is that we, obviously showed our hand that we're more than willing as a country led by this fool to go into another country and take a duly elected or improperly elected, whatever it is. We took their president. We took their president from their country and brought him back to the United States. So, what angers me about it, and I do say anger, what angers me about it is the number of people on the right that are so feckless that they're just lining up to say that it was an okay thing to do. I've looked at social media in and out to try to get some perspective. It just it cracks me up and it angers me in some ways. It just more than anything, it just shows how feckless and how weak the folks on the right are. You all are a bunch of piebacks. To sit back, and even those in the middle, to sit back and justify. And this is why, just check this out, why I've said for such a long time, we have to be careful with who we let into the tent in this whole thing about a big tent as progressive liberal Democrats. Adam Kinzinger, one of the folks on the right one of the people on the right that we wanted to say was rational and, was a Republican that got it. His first post that I saw was getting behind this effort, saying that Maduro was a bad person and all these other things, and the military tactics used were, the right tactics to use, et cetera, et cetera. But then he got dragged by a lot of people who, like me, have been saying, just because Adam Kinzinger did what was the right thing to do when it comes to standing up against Trump doesn't mean that he suddenly is right in our minds. Once he got dragged by numbers of people on social media, he tried to clean it up a little bit. Well, I think his first posting was how he truly feels, that it's okay for us to go into another country and snatch a leader. And irrespective of the quote-unquote things that we want to say he's responsible for in terms of the drug trafficking, I haven't even gotten to the other part of this, which I'm going to when we come back from this break. Even if Maduro has done all the things that the Trump administration wants to line up and say that he has done, we don't have the right to go into any other country and snatch a leader and bring that person back to our country. You might think we do, those on the right and those who are in the middle and some on the left that don't know how to really look at this. We don't have the right to do that. And I'll be honest with you, and I'm going to say this right now. I hope we pay a penalty for it. I'm not talking about life and any of those things, but I hope that there's a penalty that the world courts mindset, the people who can really lock into this, decide to implement on the United States, specifically on the Trump administration. Let me be clear. And I'm talking the entire administration, not one or two people, but Trump on down, all of them need to be in jail now. Will they get there? Probably not, because as Eric Grant says so often, and I have been a believer in this for a long time, there's certain people that the country doesn't have the temerity or the guts to put in prison, and they look like Donald Trump. They look like the majority of this administration. So we're going to start there. That's the first thing I'm going to say about this. I have a lot more to say when we come back from this break. But what we did is a slippery slope. And I won't be surprised if we do it again sooner than later to the current leader of Venezuela and other leaders of brown-skinned countries. Watch. these words. We're going to take a quick break, guys. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
You still thinking job change in the new year?
Yeah, I need something that's in high demand and more stable in this economy.
IT?
Yeah, cybersecurity, maybe even AI.
That's what I did.
Really? How?
Went to My Computer Career. You don't need any prior experience, and you could start your new career in a matter of months. A lot of IT pros go to school there, too, to level up.
Sweet. Are classes online or on campus?
Both.
Wow, I'll check it out. Thanks.
Make this your year. Take the free career evaluation now at mycomputercareer.edu, an elite CompTIA certification partner. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
Here's a tale of Linda trying to lose weight, but the med prices she found were all over the place.
Hidden fees and markups made her jaw drop low. Then she found GoodRx. Now she's in the know.
GLP-1 subscriptions FDA approved.
With clear upfront pricing.
And same-day pickup.
That's GoodRx, the no-nonsense way. Save time and money on prescriptions.
Get to goodrx.com/weight loss. GoodRx is not insurance.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Carroll. For today, we'll see gradually increasing cloud cover with high temperatures reaching up into the lower 40s. Then for tonight, mostly cloudy with areas of patchy fog, lows to 35. For Tuesday, some areas of drizzle and fog in the morning, otherwise mostly cloudy with highs up to 44 degrees, and then sunshine making a return for Wednesday into the upper 40s. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 32.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. Okay, so before we went to the break, I talked about how awful this situation is and what we've got to be prepared for. It's a slippery slope. And let me speak to it as much as I can from all that I've read and pulled together. Taking a president of another country essentially is kidnapping. It's kidnapping. It's an invasion. They tried to frame this as saying that they only bombed that areas that were military installations. Well, did their military attack us? We committed an act of war to go in and snatch their president without approval from Congress, which is led by Republicans. So I'm going to get into that conversation in a moment. We committed an act of war. We bombed part of their country. It doesn't matter if it were military bases or certain installations. People tried to rationalize themselves into believing that it was okay to go in and bomb there because that's where There's video now, credible video. It's been vetted of people's homes in those peripheral areas that were destroyed. So what we did was an invasion of Venezuela and a kidnapping of President Maduro. Plain and simple. We invaded a country and we kidnapped their president. Let those words come out of your mouth. Don't let them be something and we went after a dictator and we would take. No, we invaded a country and we kidnapped their president. Those are the words I want you guys to use. Anything short of that is giving the Republicans a pass. Let me say it again. We invaded a country and we kidnapped their president. That's what you have to say. If you're talking to any of your friends, colleagues, family members, whatever, those are the words that should come out of your mouth. No, we didn't go get a dictator that was trafficking drugs. We invaded a country and we kidnapped their president. You have to say it. If we're going to have any chance at having any resolution or move the needle on this, those are the words that have to come out of your mouth because the corporate media is going to punk around and do all the things they can do and say to make it sound like it's not as bad and sweeten it up a little bit. We invaded Venezuela and we kidnapped their president. That's what we did. That's what Trump and his regime did. There are no two ways about it. Even those who are progressive liberal Democrats that want to say, yeah, but Richard, that's what we did. That's literally what we did. And the slippery slope is that we're probably going to do it again We're going to rationalize it again with another country that this administration feels isn't doing what they want to do, what they want them to do, and complying to what they want them to do. The tariffs, this is what I said earlier in the year, the tariffs were a testing ground to see if countries that the tariffs were being levied on, nobody's talked about this. I haven't seen anybody in any form of media talking about this. I said it. I'll take credit for it. Very rarely do I do something like that. I said last year, the tariffs are a testing ground to see if the other countries are going to bend the knee. And if they don't, it gives Trump and his regime the ability to say, well, they're not doing what we told them to do or what we want them to do. And so now let's find a reason to go in and snatch somebody out of their country. That's where this is headed. It's not just going to be, it's not going to be any of the white Nordic countries and the white European countries. It's not going to happen there. It's going to happen in brown countries. That's what's going to happen. You don't believe me? Then why did the Trump administration? This is what it's done. Well, before I read this, let me come back to what's next. It's going to happen very possibly in Mexico, Colombia, other southern brown-skinned countries. And no disrespect to anybody. You all roll with me on that. Give me some space to say that without any disrespect. It's going to happen there. It's going to happen in those countries because they want to be able to make it sound like it's about drugs. I haven't even gotten to the three-letter word, what this is really about. So I'll drop this one on you right now. In terms of bombing, going after other countries that have been bombed by the U.S. or U.S. affiliates. Here's what it ultimately comes down to. Gaza has gas, the Sudan has gold, Congo has cobalt, and Venezuela that we just invaded and kidnapped their president has oil. And let's talk about that for a second. We may come back. This is the math, guys. Let me put the glasses on so I read this correctly. People have been talking about, it's about the oil, it's about the oil. Let's put this into context. This was never about drugs, guys. This was never about drugs. And some Americans are too damn stupid to get out of their own way to recognize, to call it what it is. We invaded a country and we kidnapped their president for this. Our oil reserves, 55 billion barrels. Our gold reserves, 8,133 tons. Want to know what's happening in Venezuela? They have 303 billion barrels. Number one in the world. Their gold reserves, 161 tons. That's over 8,000 tons in the ground. We've got 8,100. That's what it's about, guys. It's about amassing power. It's about a bunch of thugs invading a country and kidnapping their president. That's what we did. Nothing short of that should come out of your mouth. And then to go into the second part of this, not that the one is more important than the other, but the second part of this conversation, which you guys have heard, is this whole conversation around the, I guess I'll just say it as it is, to run Venezuela. To run Venezuela until we so decide that they're ready for a proper transition. What does that sound like? It sounds like installing their person. And I'm going to thread this together as quickly as I can. This is my belief based on a lot that I had been reading leading up to this for weeks now. And now that this has happened, don't be surprised if there is a Zionist-esque Israeli person that is the transition person in Venezuela. Because basically, Israel ain't got no oil. We send them $3 billion a year. We have been for a long time for their defense. Don't be surprised if we see Israel invade Iran. Won't surprise me one bit. And it won't surprise me if the person that is the installed person, the transition person, is part of that Israeli playbook, is a operative of Mossad. And I'm not being hyperbolic, guys. I'm just looking at the data. I'm just looking at the data. And with that, we have a clip that we want to play because, frankly, to go in and snatch Maduro, to go in and to invade a country and then kidnap their president tells me, and it sounds very familiar to some things that have happened in the past. But here's the question that even some of the folks in the UK have been asking. Go ahead, Devin.
If the United States can conduct an operation in Venezuela to capture Nicolas Maduro, an elected president, and put him on trial in American courts, then why is it impossible to capture Benjamin Netanyahu from Israel and bring him before international court?
There's a question. He's been, Netanyahu has been, there's a warrant out for his arrest in international court. Why? Let's ask that question. Let's ask that question. And it's not because, it's not because the Iron Dome prevents us from going in and getting him. I mean, let's be honest. As it's been written, Hamas went into Israel, snuck over a fence. I'm oversimplifying it. But you all understand. And caused the havoc that they did. But can't get Netanyahu.
And the craziest thing, Richard, 6 days ago, our president met with Netanyahu, and no one's talking about that.
Thank you. And it's not an accident that this happened when it happened. Thank you, Devin, for that reminder. So you can't tell me that a person that is got this much help, if it's about, killing people, trafficking in something, so I'm making parallels. Maduro supposedly mistreating and killing people in this country. That you don't think Netanyahu has been part of that? Maduro is going to be accused of trafficking drugs. You don't think that Netanyahu's trafficked a few things? The international court has made it clear in their warrant. I haven't read it in its full detail in the last couple of weeks, since right before Thanksgiving. But the data's there. We can't go get Netanyahu. I don't understand. What's stopping us from going to get him? I'm just curious, what is it about our relationship with Israel that's preventing the United States from executing the same work? I'm really baffled. There's something about Israel and its relationship with the United States, AIPAC, that is preventing us from doing this. Because it sure as hell is there. The evidence and the information's there. There's no, I'm not guessing about that. The facts are there. So it boggles my mind, but not really, that we would go into a brown-skinned country, invade that country, kidnap their president, but we have not been able to do that with Netanyahu. And we have not been able to do that with old boy Putin. We're supposed to be the big daddy swinger on the block. We're supposed to be the country that can get it all done. But we can't go get Putin for what Putin invaded the country. There's no, you can get people all that are there's a few trolls that like to say, yeah, but this is the reason why, and Putin's rightful. No, he's not. No, he's not. He invaded Ukraine. There's no, you can do that playbook that allows it to happen. But he did it. The world has stood by, whether you Democrat, Republican, whatever. At the end of the day, we haven't gone in and snatched Putin. We went in and snatched Maduro. And the reason, ultimately, there's a couple of real simple reasons. One of them is, going back to the conversation around tariffs, it's a testing ground to see what other countries we can then go into, invade, that's war, and snatch their president or their leaders. So, when we look at this, and I said earlier the tariffs were a testing ground, it was to see how many countries we're going to be complicit, we're going to comply, we're going to bend the knee. But the interesting thing about this is that they're not bombing other countries. We're not. I say they're not, meaning this administration is not bombing other non-brown-skinned countries. Show me one that they've gone in, that the U.S. has decided to go in and light up their military bases or other places and snatch their president, kidnap their president. It didn't happen in Norway. They're not perfect. It hasn't happened in Sweden. They're not perfect. Hasn't happened in Italy. Hasn't happened in the UK. The list goes on. Sure as hell isn't happening in where the fentanyl is really coming from. You notice that? So this administration is way, 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 way out there, and we have to rein them in. We as individual Americans have to rein them in collectively, but as individuals, we got to rein this in. The United States government, led by Donald Trump and his regime, invaded a country and kidnapped their president. That's what happened. Let those be the words that come out of your mouth. We're going to take a quick break. 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM, and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Check Up on Health with Chris Whitting.
You want to toss away your glasses and contacts and get laser vision correction. Dr. Neil Martin of Bethesda, Maryland says your first move should be to get a referral from your optometrist or your ophthalmologist to a physician with whom they would feel comfortable. He says looking for the best deal is not the way to go.
You really can't judge by price. If indeed a place was charging $4.99 an eye, it's really below their cost. And then if you look at the fine print on those ads, you realize that this does not include all degrees of correction and astigmatism. Sometimes the low price does not include enhancements, a word that just means going back to improve the vision, to go back and add a little bit more laser to get better eyesight. I've heard of places where they'll advertise one laser, but if you really want this laser, the other one they have, that's additional money. So it doesn't necessarily add up.
Your eyes are precious. Do your homework before you have laser correction surgery. With Checkup on Health, I'm Chris Whitting.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu.
Welcome back, guys. Choose Views, 773-763-9278. This invasion and kidnapping was done by a president that has had to have a third cognitive test. Something's clearly wrong, y'all. Let's not fool ourselves. Yes, Nancy, I agree. You got to me. You got to this before I could say it. We invaded Venezuela and kidnapped their president. The bombing in Nigeria about protecting Christians, that was a bunch of BS. It's not what it was about. It's about the resources. And the third is Greenland. It has nothing to do with protecting people and all this other garbage that's coming out of the mouths of the administration. It's about resources. Trump said this after he was out of office, or maybe it was during his last year of his first term, that the Iraq situation, we should have taken the oil. So this is nothing new. It shouldn't be anything new. But I want to come back to slippery slope for a moment. There's two reasons why this is a slippery slope. Maybe there's more, but these are the two that I've been thinking about over the weekend. The first one is, obviously, it gives them the sort of confidence, if you will. Well, we can go to another country. We can go to this country because if they're not doing what we tell them to do, we're going to go after them. That's where we're headed. I'm telling you guys, do not be surprised. Don't have that moment of clutching your pearls and go, oh, I can't believe. Believe it, y'all. Stop living in this doggone world of not believing that this happened, because that's part of the slippery slope. And now, we sit back and everybody's distracted by all the things that they threw at us in 2025 to distract us. And then they go and do it again. The other side of the slippery slope is it makes us incredibly vulnerable to somebody saying, you know what? We're done. It puts us so much in the crosshairs of another attack of any kind of sort. It could be from a country that says, you know what, we are not going to be punked by this administration currently in the United States. And they decide to attack our foreign embassies. That's the most vulnerable. That is where we could be most vulnerable. And certainly our military men and women who are serving overseas in other countries are incredibly vulnerable right now, because this is what they want to happen. meaning the administration. They want that to happen. They want one of our bases or one of our embassies to get attacked so that they can then go in and seek retribution in that country, to then say we're at war, to then put it in a situation where we're distracted in the midterms when it comes to the elections. Follow the bouncing ball of and the dominoes. They want us to get one of our bases or embassies to get attacked so that we can then go in, wreak havoc, and say we're at war, we can't have an election, and all the rest of the garbage is going to come out of their mouths. Guys, you got to pay attention to this. And I know that I'm throwing all this out to you, and many of you already know it or have your own observations about it. And the other side of it is, okay, so what do we do about it? But before we get there, we got to talk about the fact that this has happened and why it's happened and where we could be headed in terms of the slippery slope. The next part of this that is hauntingly scary, going back to what I said a moment ago about who might get installed, is that this Craven A administration actually said that we will temporarily run Venezuela. We will temporarily run Venezuela. Talk about a big A distraction from the Epstein files. We will run Venezuela. So, all of the people who voted for Donald Trump, and I know there's people who got on social media trying to be a badass and say, I voted for this. You didn't even know it was coming, so stop lying. You didn't vote for this. You're full of crap. I voted for this. Yeah, right. Sure you did. You didn't even know about Maduro. And there's some ex-military on the right that are spewing this garbage. But here's the bottom line. For those of you who say you voted for this or that you support this and all this other craziness, I thought we were supposed to be America first and taking care of our own stuff first, according to what this fool ran on. This craven fool ran on America first. No more wars, no incursions, none of this military action. And we're going to take care of folks. We're going to take care of, groceries and all of this other stuff. It isn't happening. And those of you on the right, those of you who voted for this, voted for him, or didn't vote, this is in your lap. I'm not just blaming or putting the heat on the Republicans in Congress. I'm putting it on y'all too. Because if you say you voted for this, then this is what you're getting. Let's see if we can grab this quick call, Devin, before we go to break. Good morning, Chris. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Mr. Hughes. How you doing?
Good. What's going on?
Hey, thanks for having me on. Nothing much. I've just been listening to you here on my way to the gym, and I thought, you could use somebody to talk to.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I hear you asking a lot of questions. One that jumped out to me is like, who do you think is going to get installed? And the suggestion that person would be somebody of an Israeli connection. That was very interesting. How do you come up with that?
Had you thought
you
that?
Said you had some data on it. Oh, I don't know. But you said you had some data on it. So I was like, well, what is he talking about? What data are we talking about?
Data on what?
Well, you said you were following the data that somebody would, from an Israeli connection would be probably the likely appointee to run Venezuela.
Yeah, I could be wrong.
I was just curious what kind of data.
I could be wrong about that. That's why I said possibly and probably, probably or possibly. And I also linked it when I said that. I said in the space of the oil or the lack thereof that Israel does not really have, and this would give them access to that. That's why I said it.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I heard you say that. I'm like, yeah, where do they get their oil from?
And Chris, listen, I'm gonna be straight up with everybody. I could be wrong, but I'm gonna talk about it. We're not gonna shy away from it. Israel, at the same time, because I merged this with the why haven't we not gone and gotten Netanyahu? I'm tying these things together because oftentimes we don't do that. We don't, and I'm not putting this on you, Chris. We have to slow down and go, no. What is it that we're not paying attention to that could happen? Did I sit down with any intelligence people and they said that that's going to happen with an Israeli Mossad person being installed? No, I didn't do that. But I'm looking at the bouncing ball enough.
Another question that you asked that I thought was very interesting. You asked about Netanyahu. Why don't we just go grab him too? And I had a thought on that. It came to mind. I thought, well, I could see the logic behind if we can grab this guy for these reasons, why don't we grab this guy for similar reasons? That makes logical sense. But in a regional geopolitical analysis of what's gone on historically, this is really Monroe Doctrine stuff that is being used to justify the grabbing of Maduro. And I don't think we would have that sort of leverage to go grab somebody in the Middle East.
And again, I don't know, but I don't know, but the question does get asked, why not? Because what I was trying to do when I said that, Chris, is say, listen, if these are the reasons that we've gone after Maduro, then we know that the international court has their own set of reasons based on the warrant that they have out for Netanyahu. So why haven't we gone and gotten him yet, if that's the case? And necessarily, do I mean the United States of America? Maybe indirectly. But I'm just, again, Chris, what I'm trying to do is get us to ask these questions, because sometimes we all of us get distracted by one thing when we're not looking at what's going on behind the curtain. So that's part of the reason that I'm positioned it that way, is to get us to ask the question.
I'm with you 100% on asking those questions. 100% on that. And actually, that's kind of why I'm here, because I'm asking the same questions. Like, well, you say, you made some comments about this not being an America first idea to go down to Venezuela and do this. But on the contrary, it kind of is. You know that on the day of this activity, this action that we took, that there was a Chinese delegation in Venezuela.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you're aware of that. So the question that I ask is, well, what were they doing there? And I find it, remarkably coincidental that we went in on the same day that happened. I mean,
I knew you were going to say that.
Pretty obvious what's going on there.
Chris is sitting back going, wait a minute. You're like, wait a minute, y'all. Hold on a second. We do this when this is going on, and that's something that just sort of happened. Chris, but
then I asked the question: what are the Chinese delegates doing there? What's their purpose to be there?
Yeah, I get it. I get it. But here's the thing.
So there's a lot of stuff going on.
Here's the thing. You gotta be willing to ask the questions, and I'm going to be very, very solid in my resolve. We have to do that. And if you're asking these questions, Chris, of me, you should be asking them of everybody around you. And I don't care where one sits in the political conversation. If you're far left, if you're in the middle, or if you're far right in MAGA. And if people call in and they have questions, I'm going to do my best to answer them. But here's the one thing I won't do. I'm not going to let people get away with the craziness this year, because we've got too much at risk. But Chris, thank you for the call.
Thank you for your call, Mr. Hughes. Appreciate you having me on.
Have a good day. We'll talk to you soon. Let's take a quick break, guys. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back. Hey, progressives, it's Richard Chu, host of Choose Views weekdays 6 to 8 a.m. Central. We're all anxious for the 2026 midterm election to arrive so we can restore some sanity and much-needed oversight to our government. In fact, it's the most important midterm election in American history, and Choose Views will be in the thick of it, bringing you candidate interviews on a regular basis. I'll be talking to Democratic Party hopefuls running for House and Senate at the federal and state level, as well as candidates for governor and other state and local offices.
I am in love with our ability to fight for our rights, to fight for our future, to fight for our freedoms, to fight as our ancestors fought. It's just our moment. This is just our time to stand up and to speak up. We can't give up on this.
If you miss any of the interviews live, you'll be able to find them all on WCPT's candidate interviews page at heartlandsignal.com/candidates. That's Choose Views, weekdays from 6 to 8 a.m. on WCPT, Chicago's progressive talk for 20 years.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious, with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. The helicopter carrying ousted Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro has landed at a Manhattan heliport after a short flight. He was being held at a jail in Brooklyn. Maduro and his wife Celia Flores are expected to appear at noon before a judge for a brief but required legal proceeding that will likely kick off a prolonged legal fight over whether he can be put on trial in the U.S. Maduro is facing narco-terrorism charges the Trump administration used to justify his capture and transfer to New York. Speaking to reporters aboard Air Force One yesterday, President Trump was asked about how soon an election can take place in Venezuela.
The country is a mess. It's been horribly run. The oil is just flowing at a very low level, much lower than, even if it was badly run, it should have more income, more oil than what they're doing. So we're going to have the big oil companies go in, and they're going to fix the infrastructure, and they're going to invest money. We're not going to invest anything. We're going to just take care of the country. We're going to cherish the country. We're going to take care, more importantly, of the people, including Venezuelans that are living in our country that were forced to leave their country.
Maduro's lawyers are expected to contest the legality of his arrest, arguing that he is immune from prosecution as a sovereign head of a foreign state. But the U.S. does not recognize him as Venezuela's legitimate leader. In France, a court found 10 people guilty of cyberbullying France's First Lady Brigitte Macron by spreading false online claims about her gender and sexuality, including allegations that she was born a man. Police in northern Nigeria say gunmen attacked a village and killed at least 30 people Saturday evening. The country's president says he ordered authorities to hunt down the gunmen. This is AP News. AP correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports North Korea is continuing missile testing.
North Korea says leader Kim Jong-un observed test flights of hypersonic missiles and underscored the need to bolster the country's nuclear war deterrent as the country dials up weapons displays ahead of a major political conference. The official Korean Central News Agency said Sunday's drill involved a hypersonic weapons system and was meant to examine its readiness and enhance missile troops' firepower. The possession of a functioning hypersonic weapon would give the North an ability to penetrate the US and South Korea's missile defense shields. In past years, the North has performed a series of tests to acquire it, but many foreign experts question whether the test missiles have achieved their desired speed and maneuverability during flights. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
More on this story at apnews.com. I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Carroll. For today, we'll see gradually increasing cloud cover with high temperatures reaching up into the lower 40s. Then for tonight, mostly cloudy with areas of patchy fog, lows to 35. For Tuesday, some areas of drizzle and fog in the morning, otherwise mostly cloudy with highs up to 44 degrees, and then sunshine making a return for Wednesday into the upper 40s. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 32.
Horowitz and Associates. Cliff Horowitz's grandfather started this family law firm, and he always said, you know what, if we're going to get full justice for our clients, we have to go to trial. Trial, though, can be very time-consuming, and that's why most firms won't go to trial. They just settle for the insurance company's offer. But the Horowitz family spent a century going to trial. They're taking cases to trial now, and they're winning many record-setting verdicts. Cliff Horowitz is a third-generation trial lawyer, getting people the full justice they deserve. Call 312-800-8000 or go to HorwitzLaw.com.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Hey, guys, welcome back to the show. Choose Views 773-763-9278 here on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago. So, I've been waiting to talk to this guy for a bit. As you guys know, we every couple of weeks or so, we have our good friend Mike Nellis on, who is one of the top political strategists in the country. And Mike's been hanging with us for a few months now, going back into 2025. He is the host of Endless Urgency, one of the top podcasts and platforms out there. Mike, good morning. Happy 2026 and welcome to the show.
Good morning. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, man. That's right. How did you and the family and everything do over the overall holiday, but certainly the New Year holiday?
We did well. We went back home to Nebraska, visited family. Every other kid got sick in the family except mine, which was a blessing because I had promised that for New Year's we would take the family to L.A. and go to Disneyland and Universal, which is what we did. Nobody got sick, so I'm imagining we're about to befall a terrible tragedy this week when all the disease just catches up with us.
No. Here's what happened. You had that cone of safety and healthiness around you. And I'm going to put that out to the universe right now. You know how goofy I can be. I'm going to put that out to the universe right now that you and the family stay healthy and you aren't going to get caught up with the crud. That's not going to happen.
I appreciate that because I have so much work to catch up on.
My goodness, that's crazy that all the kids got sick, but at least you guys got to hang out together. So that's good. That's really good.
It was a fun trip, although I'm not going to lie to you, walking around Disneyland when I looked down at my phone and see that we've invaded Venezuela, apparently, it was a wild moment.
I'm telling you. I mean, listen, this is the language that I'm using. You may have heard it already. Let's not tippy-toe around and use the soft language. We invaded Venezuela, and we kidnapped their president. I don't think that it's for any of us to say anything like, well, we went after a drug smuggler and a bad guy. No. We didn't do that. We invaded another country and we kidnapped their president. That puts us in a really bad situation globally. And I think it puts us at risk in some areas when it comes from militarily or as it relates to our bases and, as I said earlier, our embassies. Because somebody's may say, you know what, we're done with the U.S. in this garbage. But that's what I think that the Trump administration wants to happen, because then it will allow them to say, well, we got to seek our retribution on that country. The next thing you know, we're going to be dropping bombs on another country. I could be crazy, Mike, but what's your take on that and this whole conversation around this invasion?
Yeah, well, let's lay it out, at least in terms of how I see it. The first thing is Maduro, not a good person. Horrible human being. I have zero sympathy for him, but there is no justification for the United States military to get involved in Venezuela. And to me, if you just look at the language from Donald Trump over the last couple of days, they've never really gone in front of the American people and explained what we're doing and why we're doing and why it's in America's best interest to do that. You know, say what you will about George W. Bush and Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld. At least they took the time to lie to us before invading Iraq. Donald Trump isn't even taking that time, and the media is just going along with it. It's ridiculous. But ultimately, at the end of the day, based on what Donald Trump has now said over the last couple of days, and it was obvious and we all knew this, we have invaded Venezuela on behalf of the oil companies who would like access to the tremendous amount of oil resources that Venezuela has. And that is wrong. And it is, to me, again, the perfect example of how this administration works. Can they do anything about inflation? No. Can they do anything about housing? No. Can they do anything about people going bankrupt because they get sick? No. Can't do anything about that. But, oh, my God, the oil companies need access to resources. You have the entire United States military complex, every service member on your payroll to go down there. They've appointed Marco Rubio as the viceroy of Venezuela, which is the most like Star Wars prequels thing I can think of them doing. It's absolutely ridiculous. And again, who wins and who loses? Average American is losing right now. Your tax dollars are going to profit oil companies. Yep. That's what's happening right now. And it's the same thing that they did in Iraq, except they're not taking any of the time to actually lie to us about it, which to me is actually somehow more offensive and somehow stupider. And I agree with you. It will likely destabilize the region. We will not know the actual impact of what's happened in Venezuela for years. So anybody that's like, this is a huge success, or anybody that's even like, this is a huge failure, we don't know. But we know the United States is very bad at regime change. We know that we're very good at destabilizing, particularly South America. So I just don't understand what we're doing. And again, this is the peace president, Richard.
Come on, Mike.
This is the guy who demanded the Nobel Peace Prize. He had FIFA give him one. Like, he's besmirched the good name of the FIFA Peace Prize. Richard, what the heck are we doing?
Come on, man. Stand up in that pulpit, preacher. Golly. I mean,
well, I got to keep myself enough reined in before I drop an F-bomb on my there.
Devin and Whitney, they got both hands ready, so don't worry. We were prepared.
Oh, I know anytime I'm on the radio, I know you guys are ready.
Listen, brother. I told Devin earlier, I said earlier that this year that the engineers are going to have to be ready because although I won't launch into a profanity tirade, there might be some slip-ups this year. And if that's what it takes to get us to moving this doggone thing forward, then that's where we are. But, Mike, I appreciate you leaning into this. We suck at regime change. We are very good at destabilizing an area to then come in and do what? Snatch the resources, which we've done marvelously well over the last, I'm going to say, since the end of World War II, without a doubt, Korean War. And many people could go back even further to the 1913 when we, had the change from in our monetary system. And I'm going to talk about that in the weeks to come. But, Mike, listen, I want to ask you this question. No Congress, no conversation at all with Congress. And I believe you remember, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but do you remember when Trump said or invited the oil folks to Mar-a-Lago and said, listen, if y'all drop me $1 billion and get me reelected, I'll give you, the keys to the kingdom. This is kind of the payback for that. Am I reaching, or how do you see this?
I think that's probably right. Like, he made certain promises. There's also been a long-standing rumor, and again, it's just a rumor. I don't know, that Putin tried to offer Venezuela in exchange for Ukraine, right? Because Venezuela's been aligned with Russia generally, and so the idea of this, foreign policy swap of countries and allies is something that's been out there for a while. I don't know if that's the case, but again, to me, it just comes back to, how does Donald Trump use power and how does he not use power? He's not doing anything on any of the promises. What did he get elected on? No new wars. Everything's going to get less expensive. I'm going to help you buy a house. Everything's going to be great. I'm going to clean up the immigration mess. He hasn't really done any of that. Yes, the border is secure, and that's not a bad thing. But other than that, everything else is dramatically worse. And they're not doing anything to improve your life. But my God, the oil companies need this access to resources. So we're stuck in this loop where everything that he does is the most self-serving thing. And when you stop and think about it, it's somehow the dumbest thing. Like, I forget the name of the woman who is the opposition leader in Venezuela, but she won the Nobel Peace Prize. I was reading this morning while I was waiting for you guys to call me for the hit here, is Donald Trump would have put her in power because he liked her, but she accepted the Nobel Peace Prize, and they communicated to her, don't accept the prize, just say it would be offensive because Donald Trump should have it. Otherwise, we're not going to support you. And she was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And so it's always petty, and it's self-serving, and again, it's going to be really dangerous. And my guess is what will happen here is that there'll be some destabilization of the region. Eventually, that will lead to some mass migration of people out of Venezuela. And then they're going to be blaming those people for trying to come to here because it's the only place to go where it's better. And it's just going to be like this endless loop of chaos that Donald Trump creates in his wake.
And so then to that point, then that's an immigration issue. But we once again caused it because we destabilize an area. Yeah. And people go. So and ironically, and the data backs this up, we tend to destabilize when we have a Republican in office and a Republican-led Congress. And so this is the part, though, and let me press pause on that for a second, because I want to come back to something you said about Ms. Rodriguez. Absolutely. I mean, I said earlier in the show, I would not be surprised, because now we've opened up the vessel, and they're going to do it again. They're going to do it to another country. But I think the first country they're going to do it
Colombia.
to is well, okay. I thought that Venezuela, they might go back into Venezuela to grab her or to take her out so that they can install who they want to install. I think that's coming, Mike, because it fits the narrative behind. We think that we're right in going into Venezuela in the first place, and until we get the person in that we want, because that's when when a country says we're going to temporarily run another country, that means they're going to install who they want in. They're not going to be looking toward having elections and all that. They're going to install somebody and say it's the will of the people. So that's what I think is next, and then it's going to be one of the other South American countries. Lean in on that. Tell me if I'm crazy, or if you think that they're going to go someplace else next.
Well, I don't think you're crazy. I mean, he's out there talking about how he's bringing the Monroe Doctrine back, except he's calling it the Donroe Doctrine, which, again, is just unbelievably stupid. No, I mean, look, they removed Maduro, but they kept his government in place. Like, his number 2 is in charge right now and is saying that they're cooperating with the U.S. I mean, imagine we went into Iraq and we killed Saddam Hussein, but then we left his number 2 in place. Like, what was even the point of the regime change at that point? There's no actual regime change here. They've just made a deal for the oil. And Donald Trump can't even not lie. He can't even lie about it. Like, he's just, like, out there with, like, White House supporters being like, oh, I told the oil companies, but he didn't tell Congress. I mean, this is an illegal warrant, and I think the point that I would make here is we have this authorization for the use of force, which came after Afghanistan in the wake of 9/11. We traded and gave so much power to the executive. And we've watched it be abused by multiple presidents now. And I say that about Barack Obama, too. And I love Barack Obama. I thought he was a good president. And it was one thing when it was, okay, we're at war with Iraq and we're at war with Afghanistan, and we can feel however we want about that. And, hey, now we're going to do some drone strikes in Libya and some other countries in Yemen and all of that. Okay, fine. I can wrap my head around that. That's part of it. And now we're blowing up boats in the Caribbean. Now we're using it as justification to go after the president of Venezuela, which, again, bad human being that I have zero sympathy for. But there's been no authorization for force here. And to me, it's going to creep closer and closer to home, because if they can just go, hey, these drug dealers are actually narco-terrorists, and we can blow up boats in the Caribbean, now they're going to go, we can blow up factories in Mexico. And now if we can blow up factories in Mexico, they're going to say we can blow up meth labs in New Mexico. And then they're going to go, hey, we're going to take out drug dealers on the street corners of Chicago. And you know who else they call terrorists, Richard? If you listen to Stephen Miller in particular, people like you and me who disagree with them.
I know.
And that's the natural consequence of this. So maybe Donald Trump and J.D. Vance and Stephen Miller aren't going to be the ones to do that. But every time this happens, we create a precedent. And whether you're comfortable or uncomfortable, like if you're a Republican listening to this right now, you might go, I trust Donald Trump to make the best decision. That's fine. And when Barack Obama was in charge, I would have trusted Barack Obama to make those calls. But eventually there'll be somebody in office who you don't like, who you don't trust, who might make the wrong decision. And that's why you have checks and balances, because they might do the wrong thing. And again, I have zero sympathy for Maduro, but we have to repeal the authorization of use force. We have to get Congress back involved in this so there's real checks and balances. Otherwise, we're going to have a drone strike in the middle of Chicago. I just believe that that's where we're headed.
Mike, listen, thank you for saying that. And by the way, guys, you're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu, and we're talking with my good friend, political strategist Mike Nellis. Mike, okay, that is so well laid out, and the streamline is important, because I'm going to use Marjorie Taylor Greene as an example. For the Republicans, to your point, that say, I trust Donald Trump to do X, Y, and Z, or I trust this administration. Here's a perfect example. For the Republicans that are listening, that listen to this show, that follow Mike and want to try to troll him, I'm telling you, you could end up on the wrong side of the trust, because Marjorie Taylor Greene said she trusted Donald Trump as well, and now she's on the outs with him. So how does she know or not know that she trusted this dude at one point? She sold her soul over him at one point, and now she's going in a different direction. That she could be that person on the street corner in wherever. And so that's the part where, to your point, we've got to pull back in this executive power piece, and Congress has the power to do that, but we got to get the right people in Congress to understand we are. What's the phrase from from Ghost, you in danger, girl from Whoopi Goldberg. Because I mean, listen, nobody get upset that if I completely botched that, but you all get the point. Mike just laid it out. We gotta pull back on this, and it's going to take a change in Congress. And so let me pivot a little bit, Mike, and with your help on this. We're driving a two-wheel car. What are some of the fixes that we've got to move toward in 2026 to rein in where we are right now? What do you think they are?
Yeah, so, the expectation is that a healthy, functioning Congress would do something about this, which I don't believe is going to happen, right? The number of times I've heard from a Democratic member of Congress that their Republican colleagues are concerned in private about what's happening,
who cares?
Is ridiculous. I don't care about what their private concerns are. Either say something publicly or don't. And they're all afraid of losing their primaries. I have zero faith in any Republican member of Congress to stand up. And to be honest with you, today is January 5th. It is the day that Marjorie Taylor Greene is resigning. I have very little sympathy for Marjorie Taylor Greene. Obviously, I don't want her to get death threats for speaking out against the president, but I don't believe in the sincerity of it. And by the way, she's resigning in the middle of her term, not staying and fighting, not staying and using that power to try to stop this. And she's doing it on the day that her pension vests. So I have very little sympathy for MTG right now. But the answer here is go elect members of Congress who are actually going to fight here. And that's Democrat or Republican. And so Democrats are poised, I think, to take back the House at least. I think we've got a decent outside shot at taking back the Senate, given how rough everything is. I mean, the state of Iowa is in a legitimate, horrible recession right now, and I think it presents a real opportunity to flip that state back, which is really only an R+10 state. It isn't that far away. So I think there's opportunity here. But when you're trying to figure out what Democrats you want to support, find the Democrats that actually have some fight in them, because strongly worded letters is not going to do it anymore, and we have to get people who are going to use this power. And when we're electing a president in 2028, who is the Democratic president that is going to use power to help people and hold people accountable? Because I continue to go back to, and again, I feel like I'm hating on Barack Obama a lot on this call, but I love Barack Obama. When we had the Wall Street financial crisis in 2008, nobody went to prison for that.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's wrong. And there are a lot of people in the Trump administration right now who need to go to jail. And they're all probably going to get a blanket pardon on the way out the door anyway, so maybe it'll be moot. But I want to know that we get back to a place with real checks and balances. I want to know that the next version of the Democratic Party that we put in power with a Democratic president is going to repeal the AUMF. These things just have to happen at this point. We can keep our nation secure, and we did it for hundreds of years without having blanket power for the presidency, without having a Congress that is useless. I believe we can do that.
I agree with everything you just said because it's accurate and it's on point and it's historically relevant. And I'm going to add something to that about the blanket pardons. The blanket pardons are a federal issue. And if the leaders in certain states have anything about them, they'll find, I would say, find ways that state charges can be brought up if there are. But even on a federal level, just because you have a pardon doesn't mean you can't be brought before a congressional hearing. And so I think that the opportunity for the Democrats, if they take back the House and we and in 2028 we win back the White House, that and still maintain Congress or maintain the House of Representatives and maybe get the Senate, I think you still bring those people in that get blanket pardons, because that doesn't just because you have a pardon, that means you can't be convicted. Doesn't mean you can't be tried or brought in for a congressional hearing. Let me back up. You can't be tried for it, but you can be brought in to be part of a congressional hearing. And that, to me, would be, some might say, Richard, that's a spectacle, that's just for show. But I think it will need to be done to bring to light. Because even if you come to a congressional hearing and you lie, guess what? The pardon can be challenged. That's what a lot of people don't realize. So I still think that there's
well, not that the pardon can be challenged, but you could at least be tried for contempt of Congress.
For contempt of Congress,
lying to Congress. Those are real things. Yeah.
Yeah, those are real things that but I'm going to stick on the point that you made about utilizing the power. No longer these damn weak A letters that are supposedly, strongly worded. Well, strongly worded doesn't mean anything anymore when you get somebody sticking you with a knife in your back. So, you're writing a strongly worded letter, meanwhile they're cutting your neck. So I agree with you there. We have to have Democrats on all levels that are going to be willing to go in and risk it all to call out the BS. That's where we have to be. I said in the opening of the show, gloves are off with me this year. Somebody says, and I've always been this way, but I've had to temper it a little bit because of the show and out of respect to what we do. But I'm of that mindset that I know who I am. Like you, we know who we are, and none of us are going to agree on everything and how we do everything. But the one thing we have to agree on is the people that are going to fight are the ones that should be at the front of the room, not the ones that are going to be piebacks about this.
This is why I tell people all the time, I don't care about dumb ideological fights in the Democratic Party right now. There's so many Senate and House primaries right now between candidates that are arguing between like Medicare for all or like a private public option. Like, I don't care about the difference between those two. I'm not saying that it's not important. I'm saying that right now I don't care. When I'm evaluating the candidates that I'm trying to work with, do you understand the moment in time that we're in? And can you actually fight and do something about it? And so I've been telling people the divide in the Democratic Party is not about left or right or socialist or DSA or any of that crap. It's, do you care about people and can you throw a punch? That's it. Because we just have too many people that are hesitant to throw a punch. And there was some Democratic strategist yesterday I saw on Twitter, and it was an anonymous quote to Politico, because a lot of my colleagues like to use Politico like their therapist, which is really stupid. And they were like, I think it's weak for Democrats to be against what's happening in Venezuela right now. And I'm like, you know what's weak? Picking up the phone and calling a reporter and anonymously saying that. Say it publicly.
Right.
And they won't say it publicly because they're wrong and they're just looking for attention.
It's like the what you said earlier about the Republicans who say things behind closed doors. I don't care. I don't care. Right. Say it. If you're going to say it in public. Have the see, and that's part of the frustration that you and I live with every day, is we've got to stop having these people. And Eric Grant, who hosts the family meeting, same thing. We got to stop having these piebacks that are supposed to represent our interests, and then they go in and they punk out. I'm just saying it as it is, Mike. I know you know, in private. Here's what you guys don't know: when Mike and I talk offline, we light it up because we know that that's what needs to be said. We can't say it on the air, or Mike can't always say it, you know, publicly or on the spaces that he's in, just because of some of the guidelines. But at the end of the day, we know it needs to be said. So 3 things, brother, I want to throw at you real quick before we wrap up. Kind of 3, loosely I'll call these predictions or observations. One you already touched on, and that being the Dems taking back the House, but maybe not the Senate. That's my first one. Second one is the Epstein files are going to continue to be a dog and a haunt on Trump. And the third one is MAGA tears itself down. I don't want to say destroys itself. But what do you think of those 3? You already kind of answered the first one in terms of House, Senate, what we might do. I think we get the House back. I think the Senate might be a 50-50 split. J.D. Vance will be breaking the ties. But what are your thoughts about the other 2 in terms of the Epstein files and MAGA destroying itself?
Yeah, so I'll answer the first one just real quick. I do think we're favored in the House. I think we're probably looking at anywhere between a D+6 to a D+10 sort of year, and that would flip a lot of seats. This redistricting stuff with the Republicans, that's a complete failure for them.
And
I think
called
it's very funny.
You called it.
I did. It gained 1/2 of a seat in the advantage. And I honestly think, based on the way that some of the Latino numbers look, they might really regret what they did in Texas, because they made a lot of races close based on the Latino vote in 24. And there's a lot of indications that, you know, Hispanic Americans are pretty upset about the economy right now. Now, whether or not Democrats capitalize on that, I don't know. We're very good at losing winnable elections, in my opinion. Senate's tough, but I think we should be favored in North Carolina at minimum. I think we'll probably be favored in Maine as well, depending upon who the candidate is. And then it's just a question of like Iowa, Alaska, some of these other states where there is opportunity in a bad year for Republicans. The second question was Epstein, I believe.
Yes.
Epstein's going to continue to drag out forever. I don't think we're ever really going to get the truth, but, you know, they've got these million documents they claim they found on Christmas Eve that they're going through right now and paying overtime to FBI agents to evaluate. I don't know how you can claim that you fully investigated the case and then with the other hand go, hey, we found 1 million files we never looked at before, which is just incredible stupidity, malfeasance. I don't even know anymore. But it's going to be an issue. I don't think that it moves voters, but it becomes this sort of window into how Trump's Washington works, and I do think it drags him down, particularly with young men. And more importantly, my question when I talk about Epstein at all is anybody ever going to be held accountable for this? Because we have something like 1,000 young boys and girls who were trafficked and abused here. And one person is in prison. It's Ghislaine Maxwell. She runs the prison that she's in, and she's likely to get a pardon on the way out. So, like, I care less about, like, what did Donald Trump do, what did Donald Trump not do, because I may never know the truth of that. I'm just like, you can't tell me that there's only one person who will ever be held accountable for this.
Ironically, there were young women, girls who were the ones that were the victims, and it's a woman that's serving the prison time for all that. It's just a crazy bit of irony. Mike Nellis, y'all. Follow him everywhere, but check out his work on Endless Urgency. It's a phenomenal bit of work. Mike, thanks for hanging out with us. I'm glad you and the family had a good time. And listen, I'm putting it out there. No one in the Nellis family is going to get sick. No one's going to get sick.
God bless.
All right, man. Be well. We'll talk to you in a couple weeks, all right?
Thank you. You too.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Guys, we're going to take a quick break. 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Still struggling with gas, bloat, constipation, nausea, or diarrhea? Have you tried eliminating foods but felt no change? It's time to call the tummy whisperer, Renee Barish at Digestive Health Solutions. Renee uses targeted testing to reveal exactly what's happening in your gut. Gut bacteria plays a key role in all your body functions, from cardiovascular regulation to brain function. When the gut is imbalanced, you may experience symptoms that extend beyond the gut, such as anxiety, skin issues, poor sleep, or increased risk for disease. Digestive Health Solution uses advanced testing to identify harmful microbes and evaluate the overall balance of the gut ecosystem. Get insights into your health, digestion, and how your microbiome affects all aspects of your body. Stop suffering. Call Renee now at 847-207-2034 or visit thetummywhisperer.com. That number is 847-207-2034. Let's get you feeling better. The Tummy Whisperer.
WCPT replay.
Joining us now on the phone is gay icons living legend, John Waters. Your body of work has shaped the lives of so many people. Like, even this morning, my neighbor was texting me. She's like, please tell him that Crybaby was my gay awakening.
Funny, because there's no gay characters in Crybaby.
I know. But there's something about, like, your movies, the embracing of camp, the embracing of tacky, the just all-out, just queer counterculture nature. Do you ever feel a responsibility for lifting the voice of the counterculture?
Well, I'm proud of it when people say that, I made them feel okay about themselves. And I wrote a whole book called Role Models about the people that did that for me. Yeah. Everybody needs some bad influence they can look up to.
Keep listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Carroll. For today, we'll see gradually increasing cloud cover with high temperatures reaching up into the lower 40s. Then for tonight, mostly cloudy with areas of patchy fog, lows to 35. For Tuesday, some areas of drizzle and fog in the morning, otherwise mostly cloudy with highs up to 44 degrees, and then sunshine making a return for Wednesday into the upper 40s. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 32.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
This is Choose Views with Richard Chu.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. People always ask me what they can do to support the work we do at WCPT and Heartland Signal. And as always, the best way is to support our sponsors and tell them you appreciate them advertising with us. But if you're on Facebook, there's another way. You can now subscribe to the WCPT 820 and Heartland Signal Facebook pages. A subscription is just 99 cents a month, and we will have some special offers for our subscribers coming soon. So visit us, WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk, and Heartland Signal on Facebook, and hit the subscribe button. Today on Live Local and Progressive, Joan Esposito is back from vacation. She's going to be joined by Chris Burry, senior journalist in residence at DePaul University, and Amanda Marcotte, senior writer at Salon.com. Live Local and Progressive, that's Joan Esposito, weekdays 2 to 5, here on WCPT, HeartlandSignal.com, and tune in. And tonight on Driving It Home, Patty Vasquez will be joined in studio by Warren Price and Peter Sorellis of Source Solar. Tuesday on the show, Patty's guests are Devin Remaker, chairman of the Democratic Party of Wisconsin, and Cook County Commissioner Kevin Morrison, Democratic candidate for the 8th Congressional District of Illinois. Driving It Home, Patty Vasquez, weekdays 5 to 7, WCPT, Heartland Signal, website, tune in, YouTube, and Facebook. Tomorrow on Choose Views, my guests are Evanston Mayor and 9th District Congressional candidate Daniel Biss, North Carolina Democratic Party Chair Anderson Clayton, And this week, Mayor Johnson, Indiana State Rep Matt Pierce, retired Army General Randy Maynard, and our regulars, of course, Kurt Mullett, Kate Lincoln Goldfinch, Karen Byrne. Don't miss any of it. And speaking of running for Congress, speaking of kind of fighting, I mean, when I think of this individual, I think one of the words that comes to mind is fighting. And controversial may be another word that people might throw out, but fighting is one that I would definitely label this wonderful individual with. Who am I talking about? She goes by Kat. Catherine Marie Abughazaleh is with us this morning. Good morning, Kat. Welcome to Choose Views on WCPT here in Chicago. How are you doing today? I'm good, but we might be having a little bit of difficult time hearing you. Sounds like.
All right, how about now?
Much better. Whew. Man, oh man. Deb, Kat, you can't be giving people heart attacks this early in the morning, this early in the year. You know,
look, I'm sorry.
You kick up enough dust as it is already. So Devin looked.
You have to blame my cat this time. She was sitting way too close to the phone.
There it is. Devin looked at me like, "Oh boy, here we go." Kat, welcome to Choose Views. I know you've been on WCPT before and you talk with other hosts, but this is the first time you and I have had a chance to hang out. So thank you for hanging with us this morning. How did your New Year's go? How did welcoming in 2026 roll for you?
New Year's was really great. The campaign trail is long and hard. So my partner for New Year's took me out of town for a couple of days, told people not to text me, and I'm recharged and ready to win this thing.
You know, Kat, listen, I'm that guy that doesn't ask the gotcha questions. I don't do that, but I do like to get into talking with people about what's going on and how they're navigating. The last 6 months of your life have been, without question, very challenging. It's been an up and down. It's been a left to right. You've had to deal with everything from showing up for people at the protest in and around the Chicagoland area, getting arrested, getting indicted, folks coming after you from a bunch of different angles. But you've weathered the storm, in my opinion. But I'd like to hear from you in terms of what's happened, how it's made you feel, and how you have come out on the other side.
I really appreciate that. You know, the last 9 months now have been an incredible experience, the most exhausting experience of my life, but also the most rewarding. Just 2 months ago, I was indicted by the federal government for protesting ICE. And it actually wasn't as much of a surprise as maybe some people would expect, because part of the reason I decided to run for Congress is that all of the loser, far-right characters that I used to cover as a journalist now run our country. And I didn't see enough Democrats standing up to them properly, listening to what I and my colleagues would tell them was happening. And so it doesn't surprise me that I'm being targeted. But that's also the reason that we're going to win, because I'm the candidate that they're scared of.
Yeah, I've come to learn in my life that the people that are feared are the ones that get the most amount of hell and heat. And, oftentimes the people throughout my lifetime that have been the ones that have kicked up the most dust and kicked up, the noise and kept the conversation going are oftentimes the ones that, people have to go after, because they're the ones to be, they're the ones that are making the most sense. They're the ones that are causing the biggest threats to the status quo. And you've kind of fit that narrative fairly well in terms of, you have kicked up a lot of dust. You've clearly gone after the folks on the right, as we all should be doing. I'm not one to start fighting against my own team first, at least not publicly. In private, I'll fight against my own team to get, to get them to perform better. But I'm not going to do that publicly. And I think that the Democratic Party has got to stop doing that. Yeah, I'm disappointed when, there's the strongly worded letter from some of our congressional leaders. And I'm supportive of Schumer. I'm supportive of Jeffries. I'm going to be that way. I recognize that. But I'm not going to be fighting against the team that I'm a part of in public. I'll fight in private so that we go out strong as a team in public. But we really need to be putting our energy toward the Republicans on a state level, on a regional, on a local, and a national level, because they're the ones, Kat, that are causing all the hell right now. What say you?
Well, Look, I mean, I totally agree. At the same time, I also think the most democratic thing we can do, big D and small d, is hold our own party accountable. Part of the reason that we're in this mess is because of so many half measures and so many instances of taking bad faith arguments in good faith. I have been, attacked for saying that the Democratic Party should be better, and it's because we know better. When the Republicans pull really awful moves, it's something that we expect. But when the opposition party isn't putting up much of an opposition, when some of Democratic leadership has praised Trump's work with ICE, I think that it's on us to call out those representatives and encourage competitive primaries, because maybe the people want something different. When I first started my campaign, I was the only person to launch my campaign before the incumbent, who I respect very much, retired. And there were some people that, when I was setting up my campaign infrastructure, literally hung up the phone when I mentioned that there was an incumbent, because you can be essentially blacklisted from politics for working for a competitive primary candidate. And I think that we need to change the way that we look at politics in this party if we want to be the best we can possibly be.
I think that you're right in terms of calling people out. I think that we have to be willing to say that's not what we need to hear or what should be said. I think my premise has been doing it publicly right now gives the Republicans more to hit. My mother used to say this: don't give your opposition the stick to hit you with. And I think the stick that we would be hitting ourselves, giving the Republicans to hit us with, is to publicly out the politicians that are on our team, unless they do something that's completely abhorrent and it needs to be called out, and we run against that. I'm with you on that part. And you've done a good job of doing it, I would say, respectfully, and acknowledging that, hey, wait a minute, that's not the direction that we need to be going. And I think that more of that's going to be coming this year, and I hope that we, as a party, recognize that it's okay to test each other, but to what end? To just test is a fool's game. So I think that we have to be.
Just being contrarian can be so exhausting. I think that it's way more important that we show through our values and through our actions what we want. I've been trying to show that through our actions in our campaign. We use our campaign resources to materially improve people's lives. Our campaign office doubles as a mutual aid hub. When it comes to protesting, I was able to pressure some of my opponents to come out and stand against ICE with us, and I'm really glad that happened, but I wish that was the instinct of the party. I think that if we want to get better, we have to not just complain, but actually do things.
So let's talk about the current affairs right now, and I'll just kind of read you the laundry list. Trump takes Maduro. He invades the country and kidnaps the president of that country. GOP hawks cheer Trump's Maduro grab. Now we got a Senate to vote on war powers measures following the Maduro kidnapping. Trump says he's going to run Venezuela. I mean, this is the story of the day. It's something that is absolutely, it's not unbelievable. I'm not going to say that because it's very believable, and we need to stop saying, oh, my God, I can't believe this. Believe it, y'all. They said they were going to do this kind of stuff. Kamala Harris said this would happen. For those who ran around saying, well, she didn't do enough of this, didn't do enough of that, she did say that this would happen. And so here we are. But, Kat, you're running for a congressional seat, a very big congressional seat, shoes that are big to fill. If you win, you got to be willing to go in and, like, right now, if you were in Congress, would you be having a press conference saying this is what's wrong? I mean, I'm just curious, how would you be dealing with this, what took place day before yesterday, if you were in Congress right now?
I would be filing articles of impeachment, and I've led the way in my race for calling for articles of impeachment. And this is for multiple reasons, because, look, I get we don't have a majority in the Senate. But 30 years ago, lying about a sexual act in the Oval Office was considered an impeachable and convictable offense. And you're telling me that going into a state, declaring war, and kidnapping the head of state isn't, without congressional approval, that's not an impeachable offense. We have to stop moving the goalposts here, and also make sure that every representative is on the record for whether they think this is an impeachable offense or not. And additionally, when you file articles of impeachment and you force a vote, you are spending time doing that instead of giving more money to ICE or doing any of the other things that Republicans want to enact that hurt people. So that time is well spent.
I've said many times about the ICE budget, $170 billion. If you took that money and divided it amongst the top 20 cities in the country, irrespective of their political stripe, red or blue or purple, that would solve a whole bunch of problems in those cities rather than sending these goons in that decide to bump up against a woman of your physical stature. I'm not being disrespectful. And then doing...
I'm 5 feet tall.
but giving... But right. I mean, you're 5 feet tall. These guys they're zooted and booted. And they're going to bump up against you to try to make it look like you pushed them in. And listen, it was a tricky situation. You knew what you were putting yourself in the crosshairs of. And, you know, you stood your ground. So kudos to you in that space. But, you know, articles of impeachment, going back to the answer to my question, what would you be encouraging your fellow members of Congress to be doing in this moment, right now, what Trump just did? What would you, in addition to the articles of impeachment, be talking about with your, members on your side of the table?
We need full and uncompromising outrage at what has happened in Venezuela, what we have done in Venezuela. I mean, over and over again, I saw those Captain America comics from like 30 years ago saying, why don't we leave Latin America alone? And that was for a publication for 8-year-olds. And now you could get, arrested for saying that, or your media company would get bought up and run by Barry Weiss. We need to stop acting like any of this is normal, because it's not, or act like, hey, well, we just need to wait till 2028. Because guess what? If we keep pushing where the finish line is, then we're not going to get anywhere. I think additionally, we need to be looking at the gaps that Trump is creating in people's material needs and use party resources. I mean, the Democratic Party has immense resources and a very large donor network. We spent over $1 billion just for Trump to win last cycle. And I think that we should be investing in feeding people, funding local clinics, no strings attached, saying, look, we understand stuff is hard. I grew up Republican. I don't think there is anything that would have made me a Democrat faster than when I became a Democrat when I was 16, than if someone had said, look, you don't need to be Democrat, but you're struggling right now. Let's feed you. Let's help you get a job. Let's fund your local clinic. We could be doing that, an incredible outreach in places across the country to ensure that midterms not just go our way, but people are taken care of, which is what politics is supposed to be about.
Yeah, no joke there. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I am Richard Chu, and we are talking with Kat Abughazaleh, who is running for Congress, y'all. She said, look, I'm going to get this thing done, and, I'm going to kick up some dust along the way and let you know who I am and what I'm all about. So you've got your impeachment, articles of impeachment would be certainly on your list, and making sure that other members of the House, particularly of the Democratic Party, are willing to do the work to make sure that people are taken care of. I mean, I think that some people would say that the Democrats have failed in that area. I won't say that they failed, but I would say that something that Mike Nellis said earlier is that we haven't effectively used the power that is there. We don't have the numbers in the House or in the Senate, and we sure as hell don't have the Supreme Court acting with any sort of reasonable understanding of the law. They are partisan. The six on the right are partisan hacks. No longer do they get referred to as Supreme Court justices. They're partisan hacks. They happen to have a law degree. 100%. They have a law degree, and that's it. But, Kat, right now, if you're looking at this and saying they've got the House, they've got the Senate, but we are winning some state legislators. You saw hopefully you saw Renee Hartman in Iowa was able to break up the blockade and the supermajority for the state House in Iowa. And we got the same with Caitlin Dray. So there's some state things that are happening. Indiana said no to the redistricting. Republicans led that vote. Talk a little bit about what you see in some of the state legislatures and why that's important as we go forward into this 2026 election season.
I mean, absolutely. Anyone that cares about politics and cares about people will tell you that all politics is local. And we have seen over and over again that people are rejecting what Trump has been doing to America. And by voting in their local elections, by voting in their state elections, and people have been running really exciting grassroots campaigns to change the way their state is going and say, look, even if we don't have a federal majority, we are going to ensure that our state does not go by the wayside and follow Trump's agenda blindfolded. This also means that we need to invest our resources in these state races as well. I think that, as someone in a federal race, it is really expensive. And if anyone wants to support, they can go to catforillinois.com, which I think I'm legally required to say, according to my campaign manager.
Yes, you are.
But those state resources are really essential because people need to be running these races. They need to be winning them in Democratic states like Illinois. We need to be ensuring that progressives are winning and that we are able to shore up any sort of measures we can to protect our state. My friend Demi Palachek is running for state house here in Illinois in my district, and she is an incredible person that has been pushing not just against ICE and for affordability, but for things like the Rifle Act, which would ensure that we would have more income and shore up against gun violence. Our current governor has been protecting people against ICE and ensuring that we are putting in more of a social safety net here to compensate for the federal government's abuse of blue states. And so when you see, especially in swing states across the country, Democrats winning and trying to push effective legislation, it means that you can make change at an even faster level than for these federal races like mine.
So, Kat, how do you deal with people on the left that criticize you, and this happens to other candidates, so it's not just you, but criticize you for, quote, criticizing or calling out others on the left, if that question makes any sense? So
it makes a lot of sense.
Okay. How do you navigate and deal with that?
I said what I told you. I think that the most democratic thing we can do is hold our party accountable. The party that doesn't do that is the Republican Party. They think that everything their leader says is gospel, and they don't question it. And I think that we've gotten into this cycle where you're not supposed to question the party if we're in power, because then we're going to lose power. And if we don't have power, you can't question the party, because then we're never going to get in power again. And at some point, we have to think maybe the status quo isn't working, and a bit of questioning is what we need. And if people are upset about that, there are tons of status quo candidates that they can vote for, and there's no judgment here. That's democracy. But that is not the type of candidate I am. And I think that we know better than the Republicans. Or at least we do better than them, and that means improving ourselves. I'm happy to admit when I am wrong about things. When I launched my campaign, I was like, we're not doing TV ads. Granted, I am biased because I covered Fox News for 5 years, and I've seen so many of them. But we had a lot of people reach out and say, look, I live in the district, and I'm worried about this strategy. Please reconsider. So we did, and we're actually the first campaign on TV right now. We need to be willing to accept when we're wrong or when we've done something wrong and be better, because that's how we're going to get any progress.
I love your answer, Kat, and I hope you can stick to that in understanding the importance. I am a big believer in clean up on aisle 7. Fast-paced live radio, I make mistakes. Or I say something, I'll just leave it at make mistakes. And the first thing I try to do is clean up on aisle 7. Someone may text me or send me a message or whatever, an email. I've had people send me an email saying, Richard, the way you said this, I didn't like the way you said it. And I'll apologize to them in the best way that I can and then figure out how I can improve to go forward, because my job is to bring you guys the best that I've got. So I appreciate your answer there, Kat, as it relates to understanding you have to change sometimes. You have to change all the time to get better. So I got three topics I'm going to throw at you real quickly as we wrap up. And again, I appreciate you hanging out with us this morning. I know you've been through kind of hell this year, but you've come out on the other side, I think, a little bit stronger. You've said it yourself, and I've watched that. But I'm going to throw three things out to you that are my loose, not predictions, but just observations. One of them is MAGA destroys itself, or certainly tears itself further down. The second one is that the Epstein files and this whole Epstein debacle and just awful thing with girls continues to haunt Trump and the GOP for backing him on it. And then the third thing, which really pertains to you in a way, is that the Dems do have a big midterm, and we win the House, but we might narrowly lose the Senate, or it might be 50-50. So MAGA, Epstein, and the midterm elections. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I think the first two are directly related to each other. As someone that covers the far right, I can tell you that this is tearing them apart. And there's also there's like this weird void in right-wing media over the past few years, stemming from, the damage Trump has done to, the genocide in Gaza, to even Charlie Kirk's death. And there's a lot of infighting in those groups. And so a lot of people are turning against each other. There's like a very weird culture war going on inside the culture wars. And I think that that's overall a positive. I think that it shows that maybe the despotism that Trump so desperately wants is a little harder to achieve, especially in a country as large and diverse as America. But it is something that's very real, and it's also not something that we should rely on. As far as the Senate, people have asked, what would your day one priority be in the House? And I can tell you what it would be right now, and that's introducing articles of impeachment, introducing legislation to abolish ICE, and getting to work on instituting a chat feature to make constituent services more accessible. But everything changes so drastically every single day that it's impossible to have a crystal ball. I mean, who even knows what horrors we're going to be responding to in January 2027? But I think if it was right now, I think you might be right on the Senate. Okay.
I mean, because I think that the challenge that we have here is that, well, let me ask another question, because as I said before, you've caught a certain amount of, hell this year. And that's what happens when you put yourself out there to do what you're trying to do. Some have been for you, some have been not for you, some of them don't like the manner in which you've gone after Democrats, and I've said that a moment ago, or at least asked you the question a moment ago. It's all the above, and you've been one not to shy away from the criticisms that you've received. But I want to just kind of come back to this, where we are with the House. I mean, you're running for a seat. Is there any I don't want to say truth, but is there any real substance to this possibility that, there could be some 20 to 22 Republicans, GOP members of the House, that decide that they're not going to run again, or that, they walk away? What are your thoughts there, if you think that's real or if you think that's fiction?
I think that there is reality in it, and I think that there is fiction in it. Like when people are looking at Marjorie Taylor Greene, for instance, what I really want to stress to people, and I say this as, a Palestinian person, where she's talking about how we, need to be essentially obeying our own laws and ensuring that our weapons aren't being used to commit war crimes. A broken clock is right twice a day. But that doesn't mean that she's acting in good faith. And I really want to stress to people, these Republicans who are leaving Congress or are unwilling to stand by this current agenda, a lot of them are going on to their next grift. And so I think that we might see, especially if it seems more profitable for people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, we might see more of those coming out in the next year. But a lot of the right-wing media and political sphere is essentially just an engine for various grifts and podcasts that they want to keep up throughout their career. Got it.
Kat, it's been great hanging with you this morning. I know that you've got an uphill battle, but you've been in the fight and you've done the work to kind of, make sure you're still relevant and make sure that you have let people know you're out here. So I appreciate you taking some time to hang out with us this morning on Choose Views, and we will have you back in the future. Does that sound good?
That sounds great. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Have a good day. Stay safe, and Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year.
All right, guys. We made it through this first show. Not really first show of this first full week is what I've been trying to say, of 2026. This has been Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago. Stay tuned for the Stephanie Miller Show. And remember, take a deep breath and make your life count. We'll see you tomorrow.
Paulacious One, coming to you from the file room of the basement of WCPT 820 in Chicago. Checking the file on the Sports Cubicle. The hosts, systems analyst Mike Mercado, project manager Devin Tingle, the marvelous one, Dan Marver in accounting, and me, well, it doesn't matter what I do. You can check us out, the Sports Cubicle, Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Central on WCPT 820 Chicago. Gotta go, Sports Cubicle, 9 p.m. Sundays, WCPT.
Hey, honey, what are you doing?
Studying for a math test.